Hello guys and welcome down to the CoasterGen show. Today we have a very, very, very special guest. We have Nick Hutson on. He does all the music in the theme park industry. You know, not all the music, but he's done a lot of music.
Wouldn't go that far.
I mean, you've done quite a bit, let's be fair. We've got Sean from Parksville, we've got Joe from Theme Park Insanity, we've got Mikhile, and we've got James. Say hi, James.
Hi, James.
There we go, we're in.
Trust Sean to have the best camera set
Yeah.
up.
We won't go there, Nick. We've had a bit of a long day with that one.
The camera setup is like the main bit.
Yeah, the camera's great.
If I don't move, it looks amazing and there's no lag.
Don't breathe too hard.
I still think he looks like a tech reviewer.
It kind of does, yeah.
I have got the new Pixel 5 here, so I could start reading.
Other phone brands are available.
Yeah. Getting the iPhone tomorrow. So
starting.
All right, so we're gonna just start off this podcast. We're just talking about a bit of news that's come out today. Nothing major, you know, just maybe a little bit of a POV just dropped somewhere, just randomly.
Does it have raptors though? That's the question.
I was going to talk about that later. All right, we'll jump straight into the banter. Yeah, that was pretty good from Universal. But yeah, Angwazi's POV.
I think they should have replied. Well, we could have gone with Raptor, but we decided on hybrid instead. Like, they could have done that.
The question to ask Busch Gardens was, does it have theming?
Nice.
So
what do you guys think then? The Angwazi POV dropped obviously today, guys. Went on USA Today, strangely first as well. Didn't go out on Busch Gardens Twitter straight away. It went out on USA Today on the website. I mean, what do you guys think of the ride?
It's been really on USA Today because a chap called Arthur Levine dropped it. So Arthur is a big theme park writer over there, and a bit
like how Marcus's shot covers stuff as well.
Yeah. So I got the press release, and obviously then it went forth from there. I think it looks great. I think it's I went on that ride when it was Gwazi, and it was completely unmemorable.
That's the impression I got. Yeah.
Same.
Just being rough and bad, and so I think they've done the best thing they can do with it. It's not Steel Vengeance, I'll say that from the look of it. Even though it's still the longest and steepest and fastest in the world or something.
In Florida, I believe. Yeah.
No, it was.
Oh, is it in the world?
It's
world's steepest, longest, and fastest.
I stand corrected.
Hypercoaster.
which says a lot about parks clinging to records and stuff.
It does a little bit, yeah.
Steepest hybrid coaster.
That goes into a video that dropped recently about the craziest records with screw loops and CoasterBot. And CoasterBot just being in the chat. So, hey, Harry.
Harry's in the chat. What's up?
So hybrid coasters getting records between themselves just shows you how many there are now. Like just popping up everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But the layout itself looks awesome. There's so many moments on Angwazi that just look insane.
I really like how it's just it's not like an out and back layout at all. It's just literally
it's just elements.
Every direction.
It's just crazy throughout. The pacing looks insane as well. Like the speed it gets going into that brake run as well at the end. It could still go. Like it just proper rattles in. It rattles in big time. Very timely topic.
I think the standout element for me, though, definitely has to be that overbanked sort of curve over the station. That looks like it's going to be something else, and it's definitely going to give some fantastic
It's going to fly over that thing.
Oh yeah, you're going to literally just straight over the top of it.
Yeah.
So it looks incredible. Really does. Can't wait. Really can't.
I think with the comparison to. Oh, sorry. Go on, Sean.
What's that?
It kind of cements it for me now, seeing the POV that everyone keeps trying to say, is it going to be Steel Vengeance? It's so different to Steel Vengeance. I don't understand it.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
It's such a different beast altogether. I don't understand the comparison at all. And now I've seen the POV.
I literally feel to compare it more so to Zadra. It looks to pace more like Zadra than it does to Steel Vengeance. A lot of people said that, yeah. Like that's the one I'll be comparing it to when I eventually ride them both.
Yeah, It's like Steel Vengeance. It's just so. Obviously, I've not done it, but from the POV I'm looking at, it just never gives up. It's just like really, really ferocious. Whereas with Ainguazi, it just looks to be like. Obviously, it goes with some speed and it's pretty fierce, but it's just a little bit more. I don't know what the word is, like graceful, or I don't know, just like night.
Yeah, it has moments of its intensity.
Yeah.
And then it just goes. Oh, we'll give you a little bit of a break, and then here we
go. Can I go around the room and ask a show of hands as to who's done an RMC in this virtual Zoom room?
There you go. There's your answer.
Okay. Mikhile, which one have you done?
Well, I've done a few actually.
Which ones?
I've done Lightning Rod, which is actually my number one coaster. I've done Outlaw Run, Steel Vengeance, Storm Chaser.
I'm gonna head out.
Twisted. I didn't want to bring it up, but since you asked,
my envy's just growing by the second.
Just grinning every time you say these names.
But yeah, those Twisted Timbers and Twisted Cyclone. So yeah,
Sean.
I've done one RMC and that's Untamed, which is like completely different beast. So I don't even you can't even compare them to like the likes of Steel Vengeance and Ainguazi. But from people I've heard saying like in terms of Untamed, like that ejector airtime is more kind of similar to Steel Vengeance's, like especially towards the end. But yeah, that's the only one I've done. And I remember doing it and just thinking like, I could never have predicted how that felt when I first did it. I don't know how you guys felt, but
yeah,
the one I've done is Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain.
Oh, nice.
And it just led me thinking, watching this POV today, what else can these rides do to impress us? Has RMC been such a hit already that they've they can't go beyond?
They've peaked too soon.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, if you take what other manufacturers are doing now, and now they're pushing their elements and stuff forwards now, I think RMC are already thinking of the next thing, what they're going to do. And there's plenty they can do with the track because they're seeing what they can do with it, and it's massive. So I think
RMC Top Fuel Dragster.
Yeah, literally.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I don't know what RMC can't do, to be honest with you. I think that's the
hyper RMC.
Well,
that would be awesome.
Strata,
I think
maybe.
I mean,
RMC.
Suspended RMC.
Suspended RMC. RMC Vampire 2021.
I mean, you're talking about obviously a lot of other coaster manufacturers are kind of taking inspiration. The main ones I can see from my point of view are obviously Intamin are doing that heavily. You only have to kind of look at some of the elements on the likes of Pantheon to realise that is the case.
I was going to say that, if you look at Pantheon, but that's so heavily inspired by RMC.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like, they are pushing forward, but they're kind of just doing what RMC are doing, but in their own sort of way.
And then you kind of got Vekoma doing the same thing at the same time, sort of taking again really inspiration from them.
Vekoma in the last few years, Vekoma really stepped it up.
They have massively.
Time.
I was just going to say, to go back to RMC, like just as their coasters in it. I was thinking this earlier today, and it is eerily similar to B&M's dominance in the 90s and early 2000s, how they struck a formula in terms of their layouts and their elements, and it was massively successful at parks and stuff, and they just ran with it. The inverts and the sit downs, the stand-ups and the flawlesses, they all follow the same layout pattern because it hits so well at each park, and
it was a solid choice, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it just seems like RMC are doing the same. They found success first of all with hiring Alan Schilke as their layout designer, exactly. and then just they've been massively successful at their parks in terms of their reputation and the ride experience that they give. That every park wants one, and
Every enthusiast wants one, by the looks of it as well. So if a park puts one in, let's say, for example, like Water Valley put one in.
I'll have one in my back garden.
There you go. Like, if a park like that,
park.
Yeah, well, even if Thorpe put
just
one
the whole park.
What do you reckon to that, Nick?
I think we are due one in the country at some point, but I think space is an issue and height is an issue. The problem with people say RMC for Thorpe is that Thorpe has so many good coasters that it's to kind of clutter it up with another one that's a financial risk. It's tricky. I think Thorpe is the obvious place for an RMC, but I've heard ridiculous rumours that Towers might be getting one at some point, which is just isn't
Towers
fair.
Have just got a wooden coaster.
Yeah.
Literally just got
after that one properly.
I think obviously the place that's screaming for one is Blackpool Pleasure Beach.
Just with what,
but then again, space
is
space is a concern on that one.
Obviously, we could RMC Grand National and have one of the best rides in the world if they wanted to, as opposed to one of the worst. But maybe screw it, RMC Megaphobia and see what happens with that. There are more parks than just Merlin parks in this country.
Absolutely.
That's what I was thinking.
Valley. Like,
that's what I was thinking because
rip the ultimate out. Put one in.
Like if
the ultimate RMC.
If you were to see like a raptor pop up at a small park, like a flamingo line, like an Oakwood or something.
I think
like
flamingo line would be a good shout.
And you see, I see flamingo lands.
Yeah,
I see flamingo line getting more of an eye box. So sort of along the back of that lake where Kamal is, I can just visualize it. I don't know why, but I can.
Yeah,
I just see it.
I'd like to see. I could like to see that, but I don't see that happening.
I'd like to see it.
I'm just kind of like
gotta hope.
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess it's a fine line. Like thinking about which park would get one because. With the population density that the parks around London, occupy, you would need one that you would, just any kind of coaster addition, you would need it to, be a capacity monster to some degree, wouldn't you? And
definitely on the minds of the parks capacity when they're building the new ride. I would say so.
Yeah, definitely.
And also marketability as well.
For sure.
They can't really say to the general public, look at this RMC. Because
I don't know what an RMC is.
That's the battle, isn't it? That's the battle.
What's the RMC?
Weighbridge is not going to know what that is.
Exactly.
For the public,
they'll just see it as a wooden coaster, don't they?
Yeah, or a steel coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
Hopefully, one day we will get one.
Fingers crossed.
So I guess you like them then, from what you've ridden.
Yeah, I mean, I love Twisted Colossus. I don't get why people jizz over them all the time. It's just another form of coaster. It's as I like to think, it's the story behind it, and it's what's surrounding it that really makes a ride.
Yeah.
But they're very smooth. But should a wooden coaster be smooth? That's everyone's it's so lovely and smooth. It's like, well, then it's not a real woody, then, is it? It
defeats the whole purpose, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But they're fine. They're very American. They're big and they're in your face and loud and demanding a recount. So I think I would like one here, but I'm not saddened by the fact we don't have one. If that makes sense.
Yeah, we've got some great rides here in the UK. We always forget. Like what we've got is just a crazy lineup of coasters within like 300 miles of each other.
Well, I always say the same sort of thing. Like everyone is so adamant to get an RMC, and I'm like, it's not that. I mean, obviously it's different times at the minute, but if we wasn't in lockdown and what's happening in the world, like Untamed is not that far away. Like there's we're not that far to go to an RMC if you really want to go out and get one. Go out and do one.
Go and get one.
Go and get one. I want one in my back garden so much.
Just get some wood and some steel.
Go down IKEA, get an RMC flat pack. You'll be alright.
Oh, don't talk about flat packs, jeez. I spent half my week doing flat packs. That's enough.
There's probably so much more. I'd rather have an Intamin Blitz before I have an RMC, if I'm honest. Like, and I see that as a perfect fit for this country in terms of.
To be honest, I'm the same.
Build too high, you can build it recessed so it's not as noisy. So I think it's like more of a perfect fit for this country than an RMC would. So, and going back to marketability, you'll be able to market. And an Intamin Blitz coaster so much easier to the general public than an RMC.
In Boulder is one of the most beautiful rides I've had in my life. Speaking of just like the IKEA of roller coasters in Sweden, you just kind of slot this thing together. And it didn't have that jolt at the bottom of the drop like you get on so many wooden coasters. It was just absolutely glass smooth, and it's been like that ever since it opened. And
nice.
Ride after ride after ride, it was just perfect. So maybe that's even more innovative than RMC. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is. I think if it wasn't just for the kind of having to get new bits made and stuff, I think they'd be way more popular because they have, from what I've heard, I've not done it, but what everyone says is they ride like a woody, but like you say, just a little bit more smoother.
Yeah.
And I think we're starting to see this with when people go, people had the experience of riding Wicker Man the opening year, and now because it's an actual woody and it's aging, people are like, oh, it's really rough. It's like, nah, that's just like a traditional woody.
That's just what a woody feels like.
Yeah,
that's how it's supposed to be. Yeah.
So for me, I think like Boulder is probably a perfect in between of the people who want that experience of a woody, but not don't like it too intense, for example.
Yeah, and we were saying that's subjective, weren't we? Like all the time, like. With woodies, it depends what you want in a ride. Do you want a rough ride, or do you want a smooth glass ride? It's crazy.
Because I think Wicker Man opened up a load of people who haven't rode many woodies, except for the ones at Blackpool, which are
definitely
can be lethal.
Yeah.
So they ride this and go, actually, no, I do like woody coasters, and now it's kind of like a few years down the line, do I sort of thing, and it's like. People like me, I know Mikhile is as well. I love that roughness of the coasters, even Gresham and National. Sometimes I get a really good ride in it, not all the time, but I still enjoy it. I still have fun. I wouldn't say it's it's definitely rough, but
that year was so weird because Alton Towers got the park. Sorry, Alton Towers got the. What am I trying to say? Blackpool got a ride that Alton Towers would normally get.
Yeah.
And Alton Towers got the ride that Blackpool famously has,
which
the woody and the steel.
Yeah.
And I prefer Wicker Man. I think Icon is possibly the worst named ride in the country.
I saw it. Yeah. It doesn't make much sense, and the theming behind Icon, and there's no story to it, and it's like
as we always said,
there could be.
Icon, like the station and everything behind it, just looks like a really posh Weatherspoon's toilets.
Yeah.
And it's really far away,
like a giant shoebox.
Yeah, and it's really far away as well.
But then it'd be weird for there's not Blackpool are their amusement park, aren't they? They're not famous for doing heavily themed roller coasters. It'd be weird for them to suddenly do
But then you look at the other news story of the day.
Yeah.
I have to wait slightly longer for the themed experience, but then they have Valhalla, which is too good for that park.
That was a smooth segue, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
It is, and we've been saying this. I've been saying this for a long time. Valhalla just stands out so much once you've ridden it at Blackpool. It's why can't they do that with other stuff? Seriously, if they can do it with one ride, why can't they do it with the rest? Why hasn't Icon got a story? Why hasn't Icon got a theme, so to speak, about it?
Well,
it's just
Harry's just mentioned in the chat, saying it's stylized is probably a more accurate representation.
Yeah, it's stylized to Japanese.
It's
like Japanese culture. It's got a hidden roof in there and stuff like that. So it's proper. It's styled to that. And
I think that's a good.
There's also tits in the queue line if you look to the right when you're in there.
Just a few, yeah.
Presuming the bird.
I'll look out for those. But I think that's a good way for amusement parks in general to really present rides and coasters if they don't want to deck it out with a whole immersive theme and backstory and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, I mean, you look at Cedar Point, and I haven't been for years, but Topfield Dragster is hardly themed, is it? It's just got the style of a kind of racetrack, or I don't know how far Steel Vengeance goes with its theming, but it's kind of a sign at the front and then bits of crap scattered around the queue line, probably, and then
wood. It's just the structure.
It's the same with Maverick, isn't it?
Mm.
It has that same kind of.
But I think when your ride is so, dare I say, iconic, that is the theming. That is what people are looking at. You don't want to distract the main visual thing from, by having amazing theming. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it came to Amanda Watson in a dream. So who the hell knows?
I think for me,
that's the theme.
Yeah.
I've always said with Blackpool, because I'll always take a theming over like an amazing coaster any day of the week. I always will. I'm a massive fan of immersion, but with Blackpool, there's just something about that place where, you've got all them amazing like heritage rides, and then you've got like Icon like blasting through the middle. To me, that's
quite literally.
To me, that's almost the theme. It's Blackpool is its own thing in a way. Obviously, everyone's got their own opinions, but for me, like I love it, and I'm just like, I think if they tried to do something properly heavily themed, for me, I just don't think it might have clashed a little bit.
They could have themed it to like a wrecking ball.
That would have been cool.
All the coasters.
Just shoot through the middle of them
with lights, a wrecking ball with lights. Don't forget the lights.
Although I mean, they could add to the theming and get an actual wrecking ball and destroy Infusion.
Yeah, you're not a fan of that.
Yeah,
you really don't like Infusion.
I'll give one vote to that.
All in favour say aye.
Aye.
It's not even worth the energy.
It's not even that. It's not.
Definitely not.
Let's just leave it to fall down by itself.
It's already doing a good job, so yeah.
It's so annoying how good it looks off ride though. Like I always say that about SLCs. They always
does look good off ride.
Yeah, and especially when it's the sun.
It looks good when you're walking away from it.
Yeah, if you want a smooth SLC, go to Flamingo Land, because that one actually genuinely is smooth. But that's probably about the only one in the UK that is. So,
what
I love about it is at the top of the lift hill, the giraffes always watch you. It was so weird. Like we did like 3 goes in it last time we were there, and we could see the giraffes just like looking up at us.
It's because it's the only thing that's eye level with them.
Yeah, literally.
That and the chair swing. Oh my god, that sky swing is pretty cool as well.
You wouldn't get me on that one.
I think we have to get Sean on that one when we all go. Like just
film his reaction.
Yeah, just GoPro it all the way around. Another news: Planet Coaster released on the console this week. I
thought, what happened to the smooth segue Nick did into Valhalla? Like, what happened to that?
Well, Nick is a professional.
We will exactly. Yeah, he's a professional, right?
We could have thought.
we're gonna cover this because I'm angry about it. Right. Okay. So
as is half the people that pre-ordered it.
People pre-ordered Planet Coaster on the Xbox for around 60 quid, maybe 39 quid as well. I think 60 quid was with the DLC, so that's fair enough. You get the DLC. But it was on release day, it was put on Game Pass, which is absolutely...
It's just a little bit of a kind of...
That is slap in the face.
That is our reward.
Taking the mick just a little bit to people who pre-ordered it. So it turns up on their doorstep and then they go on their Xbox. It's already installed on Game Pass. So, I mean...
Can you get a refund?
It's crazy. So I believe people
you should be able to do
digitally, I think they could get refunds if they digitally bought it and it went on Game Pass. But they've now took it off Game Pass. So people who signed up to Game Pass, exactly. So people signed up to Game Pass and to play Planet Coaster.
To try it out, and
now it's gone.
And now they can't play it.
And the fact that they actually then said it was an accident. No,
it was a mistake that it was put on Game Pass because of how expensive it was.
Like
apparently.
earlier, I was like just saying no, they're just covering it up. They just want to make themselves not look as bad. But when a big game like Planet Coaster would usually goes onto Game Pass,
you know about it.
It's announced a few months beforehand that it's coming to Game Pass. They didn't do that with Planet Coaster.
They never announced
so I think it actually could have been an accident.
But do you think it's a bit different with this, where it's like it's not a brand new game, is it? Just because it's coming to console, it's kind of just like.
Oh no, this is massive. This has been a massive launch for console. This has been huge. People have been talking about this for
maybe
years.
like to like people who love Planet Coaster.
I know people that have bought this game on console because they could never play it on PC. They always wanted to. And they're like saying, "Oh, there's a new theme park game on console. The last one that was out there that was anywhere near as good. I don't even know what it was. It's that bad." So. People are seeing that now in the store online and going, "Whoa, I can play this now. This is great." And people who play Call of Duty will just grab it just for something to do. People who play The Sims will grab it for something to do, and the content will just boom now. The content for Planet Coaster will boom again on YouTube because everybody can now upload streams.
I'm no gamer.
Yeah.
But how the hell do you build something using one of those?
Exactly. So this is the thing, right? So
I had this issue.
We didn't know it was going to Game Pass, but yet we're going to put keyboard and mouse capability in it.
Apparently, Kieran, they tweeted a few days before that it was going to Game Pass, so it was planned. Just the amount of backlash made them remove it. Then, basically,
basically.
I think I probably think if what you're saying, Luke, is that you think this was like
the keyboard and mouse integration. That's Xbox have been working on that for years. Loads of games are integrated with keyboard and mouse now. So
cool. Go on, Sean. What I'm saying say if it, like you say, it was actually a massive success for them.
I reckon it was.
And loads of people. But do you think there's an element of them not realizing that?
Maybe.
And then just being like, well, it's already been out, so we'll just stick it on it. We didn't have to announce it that much. It's not like a major A title coming.
Maybe if they didn't hype it as much as they did for a year and a half. If they didn't hype it as much. Planet Coaster, Frontier.
Yeah, Planet Panko, but they don't put it on Game Pass, do they? Who decides?
They must have a choice if their game goes on Game Pass or not.
They do. The developers have a choice.
Yeah, seriously, they would do.
We also have to mention the exciting fact that for me, it's going on to the Mac on the 17th.
Oh, yeah.
Think about that.
That's bigger. To me, that's bigger. That's bigger news, I think, than console.
But there's more people with consoles than Macs.
But people on consoles
and more people who will just buy things on console because it's the newest game. A lot of people do that, and a lot of people will buy it. Joe, you haven't got a PC that plays Planet Coaster. If you had an Xbox, would you buy Planet Coaster?
Do you generally think more?
I have an Xbox and I will be buying it because my 4.5-year-old wants to play it. So there we go. It's already on his Christmas list.
I do think you underestimate how many people have Macs though who want a game, who want to play Planet Coaster, because it is a massive thing.
I mean, people who generally
Harry just
have
said,
Macs.
my games on the Mac.
Who plays games
That's
on
a Mac? You're being called out here, Nick.
What other games do you have on Mac that you play?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm too busy working. I don't have time for games.
Don't get Planet Coaster then, so it'll distract you, man.
I know that's why I'm worried about it. But, I mean, if you want to get really into this, the news of the silicon chip the other day that Apple have now releasing, they have absolute control over everything now. So I think gaming is going to become
more of a thing.
I never understood why people said, oh, Macs aren't gaming computers, but yet they can make films on them.
Yeah.
I don't understand why there's been this discrepancy, but I'll be getting Planet Coaster next week on it, and I've recently bought a new iMac-y thing, so I'll be looking forward to playing that on it.
Good.
Let you know how it is.
Yeah, let us know.
Harry's calling for your arrest, Nick.
I know. I think Harry was calling for Sam's arrest at that point. I think it was just after Sam's comment saying that he used to play.
Are they arguing again?
They are. Every time they're in chat together, they argue.
Someone needs to get in there.
Jammy, sort it out. Always trying.
It's not that Max couldn't run games; it's that developers didn't build games for the operating system.
Okay, well, there we go.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean,
they can run games. It's just they're not.
Yeah, I had an iMac
getting games
and I
built
played. I think I had an L on it, No Limits on it, and it was great. It was fine.
I've got Planet Coaster 3, Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 on my Mac, which runs absolutely fine.
Yeah, fine.
We also have to remember Apple is the biggest gaming handheld company in the world, so that's
that's true actually.
I'm just going to get a drink, which is just over there. So hold on for a second, guys.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, that's cool.
So do you want to talk about the Oceania just dead quick then? The water park that's coming to Liseberg.
Oh,
guys.
yes.
Yeah.
It looks really cool.
It looks cool.
I'm just trying to figure out from the pictures whereabouts it is in the park.
So it's behind, from what I've seen, it's on like behind the back end of the park, so like it's behind Valkyria. So there'll be like the hotel, which from the concept art looks really good as well. Looks really nice. And then the Oceania the Oceania water park is behind that. It looks like it's like.
So they're taking Liseberg and transferring it from just being a park into a full-blown resort in that case, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's their aim.
Yeah. And a lot of people who go to Liseberg stay outside Liseberg, so it
would make more sense if they could stay actually in the resort, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, to be fair, like I did look. I was gonna go last year. Literally, I was on the booking page. I was on the booking page, and I went, no, let me double check. And the only reason I did not book this trip was Helix was not open for the winter season. That's what called it for me.
Yeah, that would have been good.
I genuinely
imagine going there and not realising.
Yeah, that's why I checked before I booked. But in terms of accommodation, it was either stay in a hostel randomly in the middle of Gothenburg or at Gothia Towers. To be fair, I want to stay at them, but they're 300 quid a night, pretty much.
Yeah,
we'll get there one day, James.
I went last year for the podcast I do, and they were amazingly welcoming. So we met Andreas, who's the part CEO, for about 2 hours, and then we got a whole day with Pontus, who walked us around everywhere.
Wow.
And Pontus seems great.
He's like a celebrity, isn't he?
He's a legend.
I want to meet him.
And we ate in the staff canteen, which was great, and they paid for the hotel and stuff. So it was absolutely. They are the most lovely park in the world. And again, earlier we were talking about Boulder, which was astonishing. Helix, slightly overrated. But I think that's because every single person has raved about it, which is always dangerous when it comes to, a park trip.
That's the thing. I want to ride it for myself to make a decision. Yeah. That's why I was like, I wasn't booking it unless it was open.
Yeah.
But it's like Icon. A ride should not get better throughout the day. It should be the same quality at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning as 11 o'clock at night. And if you...
Unless you
ride that at 11 o'clock in the morning, you're getting a lesser quality ride, and that is a flaw, I think, in the ride.
Yeah, definitely.
I know what you mean there, because even though I put Icon as my favourite in the UK, but that's just for different reasons. But I know what you're saying in terms of, like, say if you went on Nemesis, you're still getting a great ride when it first opens. It's even better at the end of the day. But the problem with Icon and Helix, well, I've not done Helix, but with Icon anyway, you are as soon as you get on there when it first opens, it's so weak, and it's just like a completely different coaster. And
when I got there before you, Sean, that when we did the vlog, I ridden it 3 times, 2 times, and on the third time was the better ride. which was it was really strange.
I'll always wait till very later on to get my first ride in an icon rather than rush over to it. I won't prioritize it. So I can understand why people do have that.
Well, it's the thing though. Like some rides, until they are warmed up, don't ride as well. Colossus has actual heaters in the station for the wheels because if it's too cold, it can have a risk of valleying because it can't go fast enough when it's cold.
Wow.
So I believe it.
If you look underneath the
valley
station,
on the
just
loop?
under, it can valley. It's just not going fast enough through the track.
I feel like it would be through the barrel rolls.
Yeah, that's areas where they've had issues with.
Roll. Maybe the
and I know the worst Mac launch ever built, that Slinky Dog pile of rubbish at
I want to ride that.
It looks like a laughter ride, to be fair.
Someone once told me they saw it stop on the overbanked curve. It was going so slowly. And
jeez.
Yeah.
The Blue Fire clone did that, didn't it? The Blue Fire clone did that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. It legit stopped like up there.
And someone was filming a video they shouldn't have been filming, and it just stops. Like
that must have been like a perfect, like that was a freak accident. That was kind of like the wind was in the wrong place, and everything at once to make that happen. Like. It's so annoying when you tell people who like aren't enthusiasts like that's so rare that would never happen and then it actually happens and you're like, oh, okay. Could you imagine telling your mates?
I remember once seeing footage of Top Thrill Dragster stopped at the top, and this
same with Stealth.
This poor guy had to climb up 405 feet, and I think he just pushed it or something.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, the fun one with when that happens with Stealth.
Throw a rope up.
The nearest place that has a crane.
Oh, yeah, we learnt this when we did the behind the scenes on Stealth, yeah.
The nearest place that has a crane tall enough but is also mobile is Milton Keynes.
And then it's just Romney driving up saying, "Oh, you're off Stealth now," pushing it.
If the traffic is really bad, it can take like 3-4 hours for it to get there. And all they do is they hoist people up and then they push it. Like that's all they do. They just push the train.
And that is why you make sure you go to the toilet before you get in the queue.
Yes.
Because imagine if I don't know if anyone's done it, when you get on it and you're like, I really need a toilet.
To be fair,
I've never actually thought about that.
I'm fairly certain when it
I just do it for the queue.
Yeah, could you imagine?
Empty. So I'm fairly certain it was empty when it happened, to be fair. So
Well, it makes
sense. It happened earlier this year, actually, when they were testing the rides as well. I think it was back in February time.
Don't they do that? The second time.
Don't they do that on purpose at the start?
No,
of the season?
they can't plan it to stop up there.
Oh, okay.
They can purposely roll it back. They just so happen to have the perfect launch speed for it to get stuck up there.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like, well, if it does happen to get stuck up there, like all you really can do is just push it back down. Because I mean, what's the alternative? What you're gonna, evac people down?
But then people sort of sat on the train, sort of doing this, trying to get it to move.
One by one,
That could work.
I would do that. Like seriously, I would do that.
And
I would go
backwards
as well, not go forwards. I want to go backwards.
Right, back, pretty much.
So then bruises on your arms for? Nothing. I'm not doing anything up there.
Stealth did it. Sorry.
So what else do we know about this water park?
That's a water park that's being built.
All the concept.
Just the concept art, really.
Is that all we know about the water?
Looks like it has a splash bucket. So.
Oh,
it's a water park. They're all gross.
Not a fan.
That's the.
I think I enjoy more
5 or 6 slides
than 7,000 Americans. my one experience at Wet and Wild. No, I mean you get wedgies and you get it's just disgusting.
That just sounds grim, to be honest.
Going down the slides and getting the water in my eyes,
and you're not wrong.
Really does my head. That does my
no,
head in.
No, the slides look fun though. Like there's a few
they have
really fun looking ones. In
you're in like the little dinghy, and it's
you're in what?
Yeah.
It's
you're in the dinghy.
You're in a dinghy.
I thought you said Yodeling.
But it's not like it's not one of the funnel ones. It actually
Maybe,
just
Sean.
looks like a big circular panel, which you go up and then come back down the other side.
Yeah, it's one of those like half pipe looking ones where you, like you float for a couple of seconds and then come back the way you came.
Yeah,
that one looks good. It looks like there's a water coaster.
My one memory of water parks is just a lot of stairs.
Yeah, that's one issue with water park. All the stairs.
I would.
I mean, depth charge.
Oh, God.
If they had like a dark ride lazy river thing, like a really impressive one, I think Europa Park have elements of that, don't they? Or there's a Volcano Bay, I think. But I'm talking about a serious,
Yeah.
They're
probably the best things about the water parks are like lazy rivers or.
I love a lazy river. Like,
for me, fun.
That's a great one at Alton Towers, isn't there? You know. Rapids. Sorry, that's farping
it.
Same thing, really.
Yeah, effectively.
Shame about the waterfalls. Anyway, so we've got
waterfalls.
So Nick's on the podcast, and obviously we haven't spoke anything about his career, his work, or anything yet. We've just covered the news. So that's
good night, everybody.
And this is when he leaves. Yeah. He's only here for that.
So Nick, so thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
All right, bye.
And it's really cool to have such a established guest come on the podcast. We never dreamt of this happening ever. We just thought it would just be us lot just rambling on for hours on the Thursday evening. But yeah, we got some cool guests on, so thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
How have you been, man? Like since doing your Oktoberfest and your fight nights and music and all that stuff, how have you been? How have you been doing?
Fine. Been busy, which is good. I guess I'm one of the lucky ones who this whole situation hasn't really affected.
Yeah.
So I work from home anyway. So, I'm saving money by not really going, because usually September, October, November is such a busy time. I usually would go and see a lot of shows at this time of year, but obviously that's not happening. So saving money by not doing that. A lot of Halloween.
But you're buying new iMacs though.
yeah, that was my kind of. This is my
business expense.
I think we've all done that. Yeah.
You do right.
We're not going anywhere. We're just like we'll just buy something. Yeah.
This whole room is new.
Oh, nice.
The bookcase, flat pattern nightmare, the TV stand, the sofa.
Relate to that, yeah.
But yeah, I've been finally working on some stuff, which is very exciting, and it's been weird not being able to see people. That's always the hardest thing, which is what once you start to get older, that's what parts become about. They become less about the thrills and stuff. It becomes all about the social events, which is why I loved Oktoberfest. I love going to that with some friends. I enjoyed Fright Nights, to go to the press night of that and see everyone again. So yeah, that's the thing I am missing, but it hasn't been too weird.
That's cool.
Yeah, definitely. Like,
I agree.
You said about Oktoberfest. I managed to get to Towers in September for the first time in a few years, and like it just happened to be the first time I went there with some enthusiast friends over here as well, and like the experience going with them versus with going with just normal friends who aren't enthusiasts.
The normal people.
The normies, the muggles.
I'm
joking. It's night and day, and I was like, not to say that I can't be myself around my normal friends, but like I was in my element, as we all are.
You want to point out different things, don't you? And you'll have the kind of inside jokes that you laugh about, and stuff like that. So yes, it's the social side is massively important for me, and that's what I do miss.
Yeah, man.
That's why I loved the Oktoberfest and Fright Night and Scarefest this year. Is like how the parks have actively made like the bits to hang out in, like especially with Towers with the lawns. Where
they were really good with that this year.
Yeah, like for me that was brilliant because sometimes it is hard to find seating around Towers and Thorpe. But then to have like these communal areas where you can just relax, like listen to some like just listening to live music this year, that was insane. Like I remember when I went to Towers and I just saw like a live band on the stage, and I was just like, I forgot how much I missed this.
Yeah. It was weird. I've said this before. There's one point at Thorpe. It was sort of 7:30 at night. The coasters were roaring above me. Nemesis, Inferno, it was, and it was a beautiful sunset. There were, I was with friends, and they were drinking a foreign beer, and the band were playing, and I forgot I was in England for about a second, and it just felt, that is what theme parks can do. They can take you away and put you somewhere else. And whether I was involved in the event or not, it was a wonderful event, and I'm glad that they're looking at that kind of weird September time in parks to really breathe life into it. And I think
it's
almost a wonder why
Oktoberfest was one of my favourite events that Thorpe have done.
It's almost a wonder why they didn't try it in earlier years, because of how successful it's been, or it seems to have been.
I wonder if Oktoberfest is a bigger thing now as regards what other event companies are doing. Yeah. It's only recently I've started to see it really take off.
Yeah, like in terms of like international awareness.
Yeah, in London, there's always like big Oktoberfest events and things. So I don't know, but they're doing it now, so that's the main thing.
Yeah. I think it was maybe trying to sort of establish. Sorry, Sean, I do apologise, mate.
No, carry on, mate. Carry on.
I think it was trying to establish the correct sort of event to kind of introduce into that time of year, because obviously you have, the summer, which obviously everybody's out with their friends, it's sunshine, they're out about, thrill seeking and getting on the rides, right through then to obviously October time when you've got all the scare attractions and everything else. But it's kind of what goes in that middle part there, and what sort of transition would kind of suit it. And obviously Oktoberfest is a perfect fit for that. It's autumnal, it does fit that feel. So,
and it's been great the way that they used all their pre-existing all the pre-existing things from Oktoberfest, like the stalls and stuff, and transferred it over into the Halloween.
It was a nice transition.
That was done really, very nice, and I'm sure it's a lot easier for them than having to rush around and get it all done for Fright Nights or Scarefest.
You could tell the two events were planned hand in hand.
Yeah, and it's even like with we're at Alton Towers with the Golden Lights Walk, like that's and
Chessington
doing the same.
That was incredible.
Where they're just having that Halloween walk, and then they can just quickly put another overlay on it and turn it into a Christmas thing, and it works perfectly for everyone, because some people might not want to go to the Christmas event, some people might not want to go to the Halloween event, so it's easier for the park that way as well. So it's been very clever the way they did it anyway. And your music was fantastic as well, Nick.
Thank you.
That's what Thorpe Park did well, was the fact that because they are obviously a lot more compact than some of the bigger parks, they can give you that feeling around the entire park rather than just one section. I just thought it was so clever how they just it made you feel wherever you was in the park, you just use it in that kind of event space. Whereas again, comparing it to Towers again, you go up to Forbidden Valley and it's Forbidden Valley, it's like
it's Halloween themed anyway. That whole park is Halloween themed.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was fun to do something different for me.
I was going to say that. Did you have a lot of fun doing the Oktoberfest stuff?
Yeah. Obviously, the Great Army Score did the main entrance stuff, and then they left it to me to do the ride in Hutson, which I thought was more fun. I don't know why everyone went mad for Detonator. That was the kind of surprise.
I loved Detonator. I loved
it. When it drops, was
just like the yodel was just awesome.
It was just quality. It was just the timing of it is just perfect. Great.
That was kind of the surprise hit of the season.
Who was the voice behind the Nemesis Inferno yodeling?
Well, that's actually all from a sound pack I have just of yodels.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
I think I have them here.
Because I didn't hear it while I was on the ride, but then we were by the smoking area, and then all of a sudden I just hear this yodel. I was like, what on earth is that? And it's just yodeling emanating from the tunnel.
It's clever, that is.
Did you hear that?
No, we didn't hear.
No.
Unfortunately.
How do I share my computer audio with this nonsense?
Oh God. You can, but
technical for us.
it's going to be difficult, I think.
Okay. But yeah, so so the yodeling was just some sounds I had, which worked really well. It was just fun, it was just so different to, we did the Rapids track. We did this thing called Bavarian Bingo, which was a random moment it could be on any flat ride, where we had that classic German, and it is a German song, what we in England call the birdie song, which in its traditional title is the chicken dance. And if you don't know it, you do know it. And I blended that with the Island tune, which worked quite nicely. And
so cool.
Did stealth. We redid stealth because you have to redo stealth because that's hilarious. And
I did like stealth.
And detonator, which detonator originally was going to be umpire, but I thought, well, what is detonator all about? It's all about the drop. What does German techno music do? And that is all building up towards the drop. So let's do this kind of building up moment. And I think it worked really well. When they got the timing perfect, it was joyful.
Yeah.
So that's Oktoberfest.
I'm just so sad I didn't get to hear, the detonator music and Bavarian Bingo in person, because that would have made my year.
Next year,
I'll be making a trip next year. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully next year it'd be a big
with the, because I saw that I heard the detonator score and just on a video on Twitter, and it instantly reminded me of riding Verbolten at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and just hearing the exit spiel saying "Auf Wiedersehen."
I think subconsciously it was my tribute to Winter Wonderland in a way, because it's it was like you were hearing this German showman control this ride. If you've been to Winter Wonderland in London, it's this massive fun fair that just magically appears in Hyde Park.
Yes.
Every year, and each ride is run by a family or a showman, as they're called, and they're all on the mic going, "Okay, you want to go faster? Yeah!" So we actually got a real German voiceover person to do the German stuff. So we put all that into it, and I think it worked very well. It was just funny as well, because what parts, especially in this country, lack is humor.
Yeah.
1,000%.
It's always nice to put a bit of comedy into stuff.
I think Thorpe would be the perfect place to incorporate more humorous, just thematic elements in general, like audio as well, but just in general. I think Thorpe has has the perfect clientele for that.
Yeah, I think they do, because they have like Amity, which is a bit like tongue in cheek, with with a radio station and stuff. But then everything else it's just like really dark. So I could see it fitting in more there than say trying to do that at another park. That's a little bit more darker themes. But I get what you're saying there. That's good shout. Good shout.
You're saying that you adapted the island track. Now that island track gets adapted in pretty much every music piece that gets made since it was put into the park.
Yeah.
Is that something the park consciously looks to do? So they've always got that motif of the thing.
They want it in every single piece of music.
You can tell.
Plays.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit overkill myself, but
sometimes,
if the park want it, that's what they want. It's what you do with it that counts. And
you can hide it in certain, like the Fright Nights tuning. It's really slow and builds up and ominous, and it works. But like, there's something about them notes that just give you such a happy vibe when you're in the park. Like,
which is interesting because it's in a minor key.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's weird.
It's kind of building to that. The musical nerds amongst you, if I said the word T.S. de Picardy, which is not someone from Star Trek. It's when you have something in a minor key ending in the major version of that key, which is what the Thorpe Park little tune does. It's a great tune. I think it is overused a bit. But it's that park's identity. It's like Hall of the Mountain King at Alton Towers, or the Can now at Legoland, which is starting to creep into their things, and no one knows why.
I didn't even realise that, actually.
Yeah, if you do the Monster House party, it's got the Can in it for some reason. And yeah,
let's hope Mythica doesn't have that in then.
It's an addictive song though, that Monster House party. Gets stuck in the head.
Aaron in the chat said, if you could change a ride soundtrack, which one would you go with?
I get asked this a lot, and I have the same answer, and it was I did it, and it was Tomb Blaster.
Tomb Blaster, yeah.
Which was an absolute dream to do, because it was
how surreal was that for you? Like, seriously, what was you thinking the day you walked in and you were like, right, this is what we're gonna do, and then everybody comes together and you put that piece out, and what was it like?
That ride, I'm so old. I remember when it was the Fifth Dimension, and it was because I grew up at the time when Chessington was turning from a zoo into it had turned from a zoo into a theme park. So I was the target market for going to Chessington in 1992 and all that kind of stuff. And it was the Fifth Dimension that got me into theme parks. So 4,000 years later, to go back and I don't want to say fix the ride, because the ride is great, the theming is great. It just needed new audio and lighting, and that turns it into a theatrical experience with a narrative, which is
just enhancing it.
Yeah, and I've got to say, from what I've seen, the atmosphere and just the sheer feel of that ride now in comparison to what it was, it's darker, it's more ominous, it's exactly what you would expect from that kind of ride. And I have to say, I'm extremely impressed. I can't wait to get down and try it for myself.
It's scary. A whole new lease of life to it. I'm a bit of a wimp anyway when it comes to like scary. Love it. Absolutely love it. I do. I guess. Nice. Was it your voice in there? Was it your voice? It was. I knew
it was. I was just like, I feel like this might be.
The most surreal moment was playing the blooming high priesty demon character. Finally, after 5. It's like a movie trailer, but it was surreal. It was more exciting and quite nerve-wracking going in, thinking, okay, I want to get it right. I want it to be the best it can be, and I hope we did it. If you're creative of something, you never know, because you never get to experience something like that for the first time.
Yeah, because you're creating it, so you hear it in every rendition of it, from starting from just a tune to this big atmospheric piece. So you never actually get to hear it for that. Must have been really like.
The one thing that surprised me was how difficult it was, because that is a long train, and you have to think about the person at the front has to get the same experience as the person from the back and the middle.
That's what dark rides do fail on sometimes.
Yeah. So it's
timing.
It's when you dispatch, it is the most complicated sequence of stuff happening, because you have the station audio, then which stops halfway through and it carries on as you're turning right into the darkness. Then you have it has to carry on up this lift hill, but also the track on the lift hill has to play the next track. And then also the track in the next room also has to be playing that track, but it's on silent. So it bleeds into the room as you turn around. You've got this walkie-talkie thing going on. And that was so amazing when we clicked that moment, because that was complicated. But like all great magic tricks or great moments of complexity, you don't notice it.
Yeah.
It just
they're
happens.
The best ones, aren't they? The ones that you don't.
It just flows.
That's incredible.
And we put a jump scare in at the end, which I really am happy with. Those mummies.
Got me.
they pack a punch.
You do like being in the scare category, don't you? Like you really like putting that element into your music, and
some of it. I think I never used to like horror attractions. I liked ghost trains. I I used to, when I was a child, I used to build ghost trains with my bunk bed. And my friend had a stair lift, and we would turn the lights out and go up the stair lift with a torch, and we would scare each other.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
so wholesome.
Yeah.
I literally used to do the same thing when I was a kid. Like if we had like a big family party, I would spend like all day setting up like in my mum's bedroom, my bedroom, hallway, like a little scare walk through attraction. And then my poor family would have to then take it in turns to walk through it. It's probably just the worst thing ever. But yeah, it's funny you say that because I was exactly the same when I was young.
Yeah, I think it all helps, you know, when we grow up, if we grow up, when it comes to creating these sorts of things. But you know, Tomb Blaster, it got some criticism because it was too scary for the mums. But kids, you know, Tomb Blaster is not about the scare; it's about you winning.
Yeah,
you have to have that journey. You know, the beginning. Yes, it's dark. Yes, it's ominous. But you have the gun and the blaster, and you are going to, you ultimately, you defeat this evil, which is what the whole thing's about. And it has to be scary for you to feel some sense of pride.
Yeah.
That's a staple, isn't it? Making the rider feel like they accomplished something at the end of it, especially with dark rides.
See, that's the one thing that Duel is severely lacking nowadays. It's just not scary enough anymore. It has that sense of achievement at the end of it, but it just doesn't have the frightening factor anymore. And you know,
it's funny, when I was 18 and I knew I wanted to get into composing rides or music for rides, I had a singing teacher, and he said, "Oh, you should go meet this friend of mine. He's doing music for parks." So I went to meet this guy called David Buckley. Who, ironically, I just replaced all his music on Tomb Blaster with my own. He did Duel, and he did the original. He did the Flume, Lux doing Disco Inferno, whatever, and he did. He's now a Hollywood composer. Works with Harry Gregson Williams a lot on like the Shrek films and stuff. But it's so funny that I met him. We're still friends on Facebook. It's funny that, you know, I met him and he gave me some CDs and stuff, and now I'm continuing on from his output, which is good.
It's remarkable.
Definitely.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think it's always interesting though, isn't it, when it's normally the mums who have a problem with like the scary stuff.
The Merlin Mummers group, the funniest place online.
It's so funny. But it's just kids generally love spooky. Most kids love spooky stuff. They love scary stuff. And that's, you know, that's why, like, I mean, Nightmare Before Christmas, like we were like, I was a child when that came out and all my mates loved it. And there was actually some genuinely scary bits in it, but I think you need stuff like that when you're younger, and it's it does make you kind of like, it makes you feel alive when you're a kid, because you're like, this is something like so crazy, like I shouldn't be doing this or I shouldn't be watching this.
Look at the original fairy tales, you know. Little Mermaid, every time she walks she steps on knives. Geppetto in Pinocchio chopped his son's legs off, you know. And Strudel Peter, good God, don't get me started on that. But Roald Dahl, you know, all kids have to have something bad to learn, you know, about something, to learn how to overcome it. Of course, it's the mums and the dads who are looking at life from a much different point of view. They only want good for their kids. We're getting very philosophical here, and it's probably of no interest to anyone, but you do use that in rides. Haunted Mansion is a great example. It's terrifying up until the party at the end, when it's just a celebration. Probably the same with Pirates as well, if I had any emotional connection to that ride. But it's you have to give the reason for the evil to exist, and the reason for the evil to exist is you are overcoming it. That's what it's about.
So what differs then from doing like that to then just going into full-on evil mode, where you do the scare attractions like Subspecies and Molicro, stuff like that? What different mindset do you go into that with?
compared to what something like
Toon Blaster, for example, where it's like a family attraction that has to have this balance of good and evil, whereas Subspecies is now all of a sudden it's all about trying to
all about the scare.
The evil entity is just upscaled times 1,000,
tenfold.
It's still all about the story.
Yeah,
and it's still all about the mood you're trying to create. I think you're still the hero in Subspecies. You're still escaping it.
Oh yeah. At the end of the day, you're out.
It's just about the story and the mood. Whether you're doing happy entrance music at Oakwood or you're doing whatever stuff I did in Subspecies, I can't remember. But it was it's just about creating that mood and working with the creators of the attraction to deliver that experience. I don't sit in a room in the dark for 6 months and come up with something and then hand it over to the park and say, here it is.
Yeah.
It's very much, and this is my musical theatre training, it's very much, what do you want? How do we do it? How's it working with the lights? What sound setup do you have? What's in the room? Why is the music playing? What's the story? Who are the characters? And so many questions that go back and forth.
Massive collaboration.
Exactly, it is.
That's what I was just thinking. It's so collaborative, and that's what's becoming more and more apparent to me in terms of just attraction projects in general. Like there are so many different entities that come together to make something that's bigger than one individual person or one individual company or team or something like that. That's something I really enjoy.
Every attraction I work on is bigger than the sum of its parts, because every single person puts their best into it, and it becomes something that, whatever mood I was in when I came up with the tune for that ride, who's to say if I were in a sad mood that day, what the thing would have ended up sounding like? We just don't know. So it's all about every department delivering their best efforts. If that's of any interest to anyone, I don't know what I'm talking about.
No,
it's to be honest, it's of massive interest to me, just because as someone who's trying to carve out an industry in the creative side of, did I just say no man? Carve out like a career in the creative side of the amusement industry. Just to think about how collaborative it is, and from getting from the actual project work to down to how you step into the industry, how you like get your foot in the door and stuff. Like there's so much. I'm realizing recently that there is such a strong element of who you know, and
it's who you know, and it's
networking
luck.
And
Good God, my story is unorthodox when it came to how
I was gonna say, I feel like that's something you could speak on really well.
Because, your score asked, how did you get into the theme park industry?
And go.
How long we got?
It's you need a flow diagram for this, but years ago,
let me get my pen and paper out.
Exactly. Let me get my pen and paper. I was and still am part of a wonderful podcast called the Season Pass podcast, and I also have my own musical theatre podcast called MusicalTalk, and on that there was a good friend of mine now called Dominic, and he worked for a company called Sudden Impact Entertainment, which is owned by a wonderful chap called Linton V. Harris. And
the one and only.
Exactly. Well, people don't necessarily know who Linton is, but he created the original Terror of the Towers at Alton Towers. He created the original Freezer / Asylum at Thorpe Park. He created the original Ghosts Alive at Warwick Castle. He created the original scare maze walkthroughs at the Madame Tussauds in London and New York and things, and Madison Scare Gardens and all these places abroad. But so I said to Dominic, who was the director of all their shows around the world, I want to do music for theme parks. Let me do something. And they needed something for an attraction in Malaysia called Cleopatra, coming at you, which was an edutainment attraction, which I did. I seem to be cursed with doing Egyptian music, but that's another story. I did that. And then I think their Nights of Fright in Malaysia, which is at the Scream Park in Sunway Lagoon. In Kuala Lumpur, did that. And then I was, through the Season Pass podcast, I met an Imagineer called Lon Smart, who is an illustrator. And if you've ever been to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, he drew the front covers of the maps, which is quite a cool, and he does kind of billboards around the park and stuff like that. So he's a friend of mine and a friend of the podcast. And he was this is getting very complicated, but I also interviewed someone on the Season Pass called John Wadley, who you may know.
Who's that?
Just a little.
And I said to him, would you be able to put me in touch with someone in the UK to do music for the parks here? Because I'd done stuff for Linton, so I had a couple of tracks to send to him. And he said, yes, absolutely. And he emailed a chap called Peter Cliff. Peter Cliff at the time was in Orlando staying with someone called Lon Smart. So suddenly you had Lon Smart saying, I've got this friend called Nick, you should use him. Then you have John Wardley saying to Pete Cliff, I know this person called Nick. You should.
It's just a massive chain.
Yeah, it's like the scene from The Office when the two managers turn up and they're talking on the phone.
In the same week. So he thought, who the hell is this person? And then Subspecies and Molly Crow and all that stuff happened. So that's my story. There is no real way to get into the industry. But to go back to what you were saying, Mikhile, it is exactly who you know, because you know that's sadly how it is. And that's
so this is really sad, but like just to like in an effort to try and make a contact in the industry, like I'd emailed Merlin Magic Making. I'd found an email address tied to them from somewhere, and I'd emailed them. I'd emailed Merlin Magic Maker and got a no reply or anything like that. And so like there was a time where I was going down to London for some reason to visit someone or just to go to London, and I thought, all right, well, Merlin Magic Making's office is in London. What if I just turned up?
Down the road from me. Yep.
Yeah. So I just happened to go there and was like, hi, I'm this person. I'm trying to do this kind of work. I was wondering if there was anyone I could, just have a quick chat with about just the industry and how to get into it. And of course there was no one there. so that's my failed attempt to.
The irony is there probably wasn't. Because no one ever seems to be in those offices. But years ago, that's how I actually barged my way into their offices as well. And I sat down with a legendary woman called Candy Holland, who is now in charge of Lego, and she's absolutely brilliant. That was years and years and years ago. But my advice would be to not start with someone as big as Merlin. I would say speak to the people that do. I mean, I don't know what you want to do, but speak to the people that parks like Thorpe and etc. employ to work on their attractions, or go to the smaller parts like the family run parts like Paulton's or like Water Valley or anywhere like that, and then you're able to build a kind of resume of stuff you've done, and then you're able to go to the big boys and say, I've done this.
I've worked with these people. I got commissioned off this project.
See how that goes. But the luck is not on your side at the moment, because it's not the best time for anyone wishing to get into this industry, which is a big shame. But good luck for the future. And for anyone listening or watching, that's my advice, because we're always learning. And
definitely.
You know,
yeah, I think like any, like you say, like any other year, it's a lot easier now in terms of, well, I wouldn't say it's easier, but there's so many, even like scare attractions, such a massive part of this country now, and there's like, you know, there's new ones every year. So there's even like anyone thinking about getting into it, we can start doing things for like scare industry. You know, you're pretty much
definitely
getting your foot in the door there, and there's so many people who work within the scare industry who work for other scare parks or work inside the theme parks as well for the scare season and things like that.
I mean, Scare Con was a really life-changing event for me that I went to a couple of years ago, and I met a chap called Andrew Porter there, and he then became the creative lead of Chessington for Merlin Magic Making, which is why I had a good working relationship with that park. So it is all about those life choices you make to go to that event. Or I went to a Blue Loop event this time last year, and I was sitting next to Joe Rody for 6 hours and just chatting with Thierry Koo, the head of Universal Creative. And it was this great room with just people having tea and biscuits and just chatting about the industry. And you completely lose all your inhibitions because you are in a room with... I remember
some of the greatest minds.
Well, I remember at ScareCon thinking, oh my God, people actually like the same stuff I do, and I'm not embarrassed to talk about it anymore.
And that's half the fight, isn't it? Trying to find people with a like-minded nature that actually, you know, you can have a free conversation with, basically.
You don't feel embarrassed to say I like theme parks and stuff because everyone else does.
Yeah, I mean, so you touched on it a little bit, but Oakwood. Now, what you did down there or up there, which depending where you are,
across there,
across.
What was that like? Like seriously, just getting to do something that big, you know, and then not seeing it. And then
I presume you mean the fireworks and not the Megaphobia soundtrack.
Yeah, just everything there, because I mean, I watched the Theme Park World Tour documentary, and you said you didn't see the fireworks or hear the fireworks until you was there that night. Is that right?
Yeah, I this was 2016, I think. I can't remember, but Phil, the wonderful manager at the park, said we want you to do fireworks, because I just done their Dull Land, and then we changed that to Spooky Street, and then fireworks was next on the list. And I did their Spooktacular as well. I said, okay, never done something like that. And what I poured my heart and soul into that track for like 2 months, and it was a very personal piece of music for me, because I was writing what I thought was like the ultimate fireworks track as regards a symphonic piece of music. It was my love letter to Illuminations at Epcot, may it rest in peace, and by the excellent Gavin Greenaway, who also did one of my other favorite pieces of music, Tapestry of Nations, which is the most like trance. It just puts you in the most relaxed mood. But anyway, I did this fireworks track, and I wrote it, and then it just gets handed off to the fireworks designers who build the show around the track. And I had no idea what they were going to do until I went to the park and saw this beautiful show. And it was very, very moving. I think there's even footage on Andy Rumney's vlog of me wiping away a tear or five afterwards.
I bet, yeah.
Because it's just about the music and the fireworks, most of the music. And it took my breath away, and the fact that, again, it is something bigger than the sum of its parts. And it's all credit to Oakwood for staying open till 10 o'clock in the summer months, Wednesday and Saturday in August, and doing 12 firework shows. And it just makes you wish why more parks don't do that.
Absolutely.
Especially here in the UK.
Yeah. And then to go, to get on Megaphobia in the dark is amazing.
Megaphobia in general is amazing. So
yeah. the first fireworks track was great. The second fireworks track was just nuts. Just to be asked to do one fireworks track in your life is an honor, but to get to do two, and I just thought, right, let's do the complete opposite of what I did. Let's just have.
Let's see how far I can push it.
Well, I thought we'd done orchestral. Phil has mentioned flamethrowers and things, so I thought, okay, well let's just do a completely a rave, and he feels that it's the best show they've ever done, that version, and hopefully next summer when it comes back, it will have lasers.
But just adding an element each time.
Yeah.
Water jets next year, but
coming off drenched.
I mean, the deep set.
That shows how great, that park is at just trying to continually improve on things. They never rest on their laurels. They're always adding new things like Witch Hunt, which we did, which is the year-round scare maze for that park. It was gutting they couldn't do their Halloween event this year, but it's good that they have, we have now a palette for next year to build on. So I really love Oakwood, and I think it's if you're going to go to a park next summer, please go to Oakwood and just give it a go for their summer night, for their after dark party, because it is the most fun you can have at a theme park, and it just takes you away. And the UV paint party and the light show they put on and the fireworks and the rise in the dark, it's just, I think it's the best. And I am biased, but I'm not saying it from a biased point of view. It is the best fun you can have in the park in the summer.
Oakwood is a park that I have grown more and more curious about just over the last few years. Just I did used to think
it also has the most intense roller coaster in the country, which is Speed.
It arguably has one of the best airtime moments in the country on it.
Yeah,
Jesus, that
it's nuts. That ride,
crazy. I just wish I wish to do a little bit more on the coaster side down there. I mean, you've got Megaphobia, you've got Speed, then you've got Treetops, and it's like I just feel like that park, if it
and
had
Creepy
something,
Crawler,
if it had something more, I think it would draw more of a crowd.
It's the problem is, if you live next door to Oakwood, it would still be a 3-hour drive. It's very, very far away.
I lived in Cardiff for 4 years.
Yeah,
and they still didn't go.
That's because if you don't have a car, you can't get there.
No, you can't get there. And I think if they put something in, I don't know, let's just say they put something in like Taron, for example, it would pull people over. I think it would attract more people. And I think these smaller parks, like Water Valley, Oakwood isn't really a small park, but as soon as they invest, the amount of people come over is crazy. Like Paulton's Park, they've just been investing, and the more and more people walking through the door because there's more there to do. I think Oakwood needs that. It's had its Megaphobia moment. It needs another Megaphobia moment. At the park.
I kind of just think that with the work that they've done with their fireworks displays and the fireworks shows and the the summer events and stuff, they clearly invest in experience and just little quirky sort of not quirky, but just like that small part kind of charm kind of experience. I think there's room for them to really grow in the same way that Paulton's has within that. I feel like there's a lot of potential.
Yeah, it sounds like Oakwood, they're trying to own they know what their lane is at the minute.
Trying
to grow that.
Yeah.
It's a massive risk for a park like Oakwood to just go, okay, we're going to put in a massive ride, but also on top of that, we need to put in a massive marketing campaign. It's pricey stuff, isn't it? And then there's still no guarantee that people will make the long trip. Enthusiasts will go. Yeah. Enthusiasts will definitely go, but will the wider general public go? However,
general public enjoy Infusion. That's enough said.
Blackpool, they're right next
hero.
That is Blackpool. They live on the other side of the road from it.
Yeah, literally. It would be lovely to see. It would be lovely to see these smaller parks. Definitely invest. But I just love I love the way that these smaller parks, they just make the most of what they have. And, you know, I know like Thorpe, for example, is in a small park, but they haven't had like massive investment over the years. But I feel like things like Oktoberfest and Fight Nights, they've really found like what their park is about, which is like the atmosphere around everywhere. Rather than just trying to be like every other, you know, trying to be like a second Alton Towers, they've owned who they are. And I think if like the parks can focus on that, then they'll naturally just grow. It's unfortunate they've had a crap year. You know, everyone's had a crap year, but I think it's you know, we'd all love to have like state of the art like roller coasters. But it's just like, who's going to invest in it? I don't know how the business side of it works, but who would put the money up for that? You know.
The only thing with Thorpe, the only problem with that statement is Thorpe Park was they were constructing Saw, and they were building the island for the Swarm. They put so much in so quick at Thorpe. Now imagine if Oakwood had built Megaphobia, and as they're building Megaphobia, they're working on Europe's first wing coaster. You're gonna go. It's not gonna stop you from. In the marketing for that is gonna be, we are growing. We are a growing park. We've got rides here, rides there, rides there. But we've also got these experiences as well, and that separates you from everywhere else. One more attraction at Oakwood. I think I would take a trip out every year. I live in Manchester, so it's really far. But one more attraction, I think.
And I'm in Leeds.
Definitely go. Yeah, that's what I say about Oakwood.
I mean, this is probably a good question to Nick. Really, like obviously you're from a theatrical background. You love your immersive experiences. I'd say over coasters, I'm guessing. I think that's just me trying to guess.
I'm 36 years old. I'm too old to be beating up on these rides now.
What do you feel like? You think that UK parks should they focus on just building like the best coasters, or do you think maybe the other option is like creating better dark rides? Because I still don't think we have like a standout world class dark ride in this country.
I think the key to a good park, as to whether they've got it, is, and I might be completely wrong here, but I'm just making this answer up right now, thinking about what Oakwood have, what Towers have, what Thorpe doesn't have, what Paulton's has is a kid area. And I think the minute you can get the kids attached, because we all probably fell in love with theme parks when we were children, it is seen as a very...
Drayton Manor as well has a very good family
area. It does. Very, very good.
It's all about grabbing the people as young as they can, because if you go with a kid, that's two adults that have to go.
Yes.
Whereas if you concentrate on the adult side, that's one adult that might go with a kid that might not want to go. And Towers do it brilliantly. Chessington do it amazingly. It's why Legoland is probably it's the most popular park in the country. Blackpool does it with Nickland. You're welcome. Alton does it with CBeebies. Thorpe, no, I'm not going to count Angry Birds Land. But do you see what I mean? That there's Oakwood has it with Neverland, which was their biggest investment. And there's no coaster there. Yes, there's a kind of crocodile
weird log
traveling coaster thing.
And the traveling thing, I don't know what that is.
But you got a quite good log flume, which was from Gulliver's or somewhere like that, or
I can't remember where. Yeah, it's pretty decent, and the theming as you get up to that area, Oakwood, is nice. It's done really well. It's done really well.
So I think that's what parks need to look at, is the family side. Now, I disagree with your comment about world-class dark rides. I think Wallace and Gromit is an excellent dark ride.
That is brilliant.
Right.
The best dark ride in the country, in my theory, isn't in a theme park. And this one people always forget. And it's the Spirit of London at Madame Tussauds.
Yeah, great.
Such a good dark ride.
Fantastic.
The fact that you're in this waxworks museum and then suddenly you're greeted with an omni-mover ride system.
And they used to have a scare maze in there.
Yeah,
they did.
And the scare maze, as he said.
Designed by Linton Harris.
That took me back big time. I went for the first time with James and a couple of friends, And we're like, oh, there's a scare maze. I'm like, what? I've just been looking at like Kylie Minogue over there. Like, why is it? What's going on? Like, and then we jumped on a dark ride, and I was like, whoa, this place is something else. And then you go into the Avengers thing that was there as well. Like, that was so.
I mean, we're wandering off point here, but Madame Tussauds, if you get it when everything is up and running, more so when the scare maze was there, but the Sherlock Holmes experience is also beautifully done. It's a theme park. It's a 3-hour long immersive experience. I've gone just to go the longest queue for a dark ride in the country because you've got to walk through all the waxwork nonsense to get to it. But it's the same with dungeons. The fact that London Dungeon, the fact there is a log flume 3 stories underground is an engineering marvel. And it's the same with the dark ride, the John Wadley dark ride at Madame Tussauds. In that building on Baker Street in London, there is a dark ride. So I think, but again, it's a family attraction. I think a thing that the whole family can go on will always attract more things than a ride that goes upside down. I think that is the big no for a lot of people. It was until I was 15.
That's kind of what I was thinking in terms of a coaster edition for Oakwood. We spoke about the big extreme going upside down loads of times kind of level of a coaster. If they could go with a really high quality family coaster to fill the gap there between Megaphobia and Speed and then the other 2 coasters that they have, I feel like that could do a lot for them as well in terms of. I'm sure
you're not the only person to think this, but it must all come down to cost.
I mean, what I'd like to see more parks in this country do is with the kids land. Like, I'd like to see them, rather than just have one kids land tucked away in the corner, like do what a lot of European parks where they mix the kids rides with the bigger rides, have proper lands, and that way, if you've got a big family going, the teenagers aren't going off one side of the park and then the kiddies on the one side of the park.
Like the likes of Alton Towers.
Yeah, it's like so far away from each other, and it's just like, why can't we just mix the 2 together and just
which is what the Disneyland did so well, and still does. I don't know. I can't speak for Oakwood. I can't speak for any parks, but we also have to look at Oakwood and look at Spooky 3D, which I think is one of the creepiest ghost trains in the country. It has some excellent jump scares, and which is also that was a John Wadley ride. It was Voodoo Manor originally, I think. So Oakwood has heart. That's what I always say about it. It might not be the busiest day out, but the fact that you can get on a canoe boat and canoe up to Megaphobia, just have a lovely day out, bring a picnic, have some okay food, and then watch a wonderful fireworks show is unique in the country. It is unique in the UK, I think.
Yeah, right.
Definitely.
Definitely. And I think it's just that everyone just wants that. I don't know what it is. Like with yourself, when you went into Toon Blasters, like there's potential there, and without any limits, so to speak, the potential is massive for a park like Oakwood. Yeah. And I think that's what all of us, all the creative inside of everyone is like, you could do this, try it, give it a go. It'll probably work. But probably ain't enough for these parks, isn't it?
Sadly,
if you go into sales pitch, it goes,
and that's why John Wadley didn't have a wooden coaster for so long.
This will probably get you crowds in. Yeah, the shareholders are not having that. They want something that gives them money.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, it's like you look how big Merlin go when they do a promotion. I mean, they spray paint sheep. Do you know what I mean? They go into, it's insane the levels they go to. They make up stories about having to do waivers and things like that. It's so complex, isn't it?
They deface the Houses of Parliament.
Yeah,
they'll stop at nothing.
Projected, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's fake, though, apparently that was a CGI projection.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just to ruin your life.
You ain't weren't real. Told you.
Here I was thinking they were edgy.
I mean, at the end of the day, a good investment has to not only grab the attention of the enthusiast community, but it has to grab the attention of everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean literally every man, woman, child, family, whatever. It has to grab their attention and it has to make them want to go to that park. So in terms of, like you say, Merlin do that very well. And it's maybe not something that the smaller parks currently have the capability to do, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they won't, in the future. And it's kind of, I suppose, getting that balance between the two and obviously seeing what's realistic and what's practical. Does that kind of make sense?
It'll be interesting to see how well Flamingo Land does when they open up, because let's just see what they do in terms of their marketing for that, and does that create a big footfall to the park? And is it like sustained? Is it sustained? Is it not just a couple of weeks? There's already a sizable chunk of people, not only enthusiasts but general public, that have interacted with me through what I do, that have openly said the reason they are going next year is to go ride that ride, and that in itself speaks volumes. That's good, because I think sometimes we can be guilty, like when we're enthusiasts, living in an echo chamber where we're just like everyone wants to go, and it's like because
we're quite
we're all enthusiasts. You know what I mean? And it's like that doesn't
exactly.
Well, if you're saying that,
we are in the vast minority.
Exactly.
And also we have to remember that I don't know about any of you, but if you're a family, a theme park is an expensive day out. Not everyone has annual passes, and not everyone can, I don't know, do a podcast and get in for free. But it is an expensive day out. And one forgets that as an enthusiast, because we just go because we can. If that doesn't sound too entitled. I mean,
sort of going off that, my annual family day out per year as a child was like Water Valley. Basically, that was our big family day out for the year. Well, it was something else back. I'm 33 now, so it was something else back in the 90s. But obviously, nowadays, it's rubbish now. But back then, it was a whole different park. It had a different feel. It had much better rides, much better. A much bigger pull, if you will. And obviously, sort of for myself, the memories I have attached with that park from that era are just fantastic. But as you say, the cost involved with that meant that was our family day out for the year. And I've no regrets with that. I'm really pleased that was our family day out, and obviously that's just stoked my love for the industry sort of into my adulthood. So I can completely understand where you're coming from with that one. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, like even trips to Blackpool when I was younger were just ridiculously expensive. Like it's just it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. But I mean,
it's expensive.
I know you mentioned his name before. Well, you mentioned it a few times, John Wadley. Now, $1 million question is, what was it like working with John on these projects?
I haven't worked with John on any projects. I've only interviewed him for my podcast. But he is an absolute gent. I like to describe him as the kind of Yoda of the theme park industry.
That's a great way.
Little wizened figure standing there.
Yeah.
See this, you must. But I think I would have loved to have worked with him. Back in the heyday of doing those amazing attractions. He is obviously. We can't give him all the credit for doing all his rides because, as we've discussed, it's incredibly collaborative. But he's. He's a very important, legendary figure in this industry. So I raise a can to John Wadley. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
I raise a water bottle.
Yeah,
on an empty glass.
Well, likewise.
Yeah. I mean, I've met him. I know you've met him, Luke. I don't know. Joe, have you met him? I can't remember.
Actually, not yet. No, I'm hoping I will at some point.
But I remember just being incredibly nervous, I was waiting in line to go meet him, and I was so nervous. And as soon as I started talking to him, he's just got this. You're at ease so quickly, and I was just like, suddenly it was like talking to a friend. It was just like so crazy, and I got away so ecstatic.
I think there's a thing in the industry, and I see this a lot in the theatre industry as well. There are people that get lots of work, mostly because they're brilliant at what they do, which is what he is, but it also because they're absolutely charming human beings. And that is also what John Wadley is. You know, he's incredibly humble, incredibly intelligent, but just nice. He, I'm sure there are times where he got stressed and stuff, but people will work with you if you are nice. And that is the most important thing that I can pass on to anyone, because just don't be a dick. You know, it's not hard, and you will that will get you where you want to be. Talent and kindness. That is so important, especially nowadays where we're all kind of angry behind keyboards and things bashing away. No, that's the wrong image. We're all angry. You know what I mean? But just be nice, and that is what John Wadley should teach us all: is that just be nice and talented, and you will go far.
That is one thing I love about the people who I've been fortunate enough to meet in this industry as well. Just how welcoming everyone is when you can display your passion for certain areas in the industry, or the industry as a whole. People are so willing to give out a helping hand to put you in connection with someone else who might be able to help you, or help you out themselves, or just make you feel at home. It's a beautiful thing about this industry, I think.
I'm very grateful to John for shooting off that email, because it was one of those chain of events that lets me do the nonsense I get to do now. And I'm very, very humble to him.
I can imagine. So like even just to like be part of a project like that it's just massive. It's huge. Well, right, should we go to the chat, see if there's any quick questions we can go through, and then we'll
can do.
Have a look. You guys want to pick some out?
I should have been picking.
Hey, Coaster Connection, how's it going?
Yeah, ICC. Got Harry Jammy, we've got loads of people in here in the chat.
Scrolling.
Couple of people have been saying like the marketing for the new coaster at Flamingo Land hasn't been great, or there hasn't been that much. There hasn't been that much. That's what I was about to say.
It's quite funny because Gaming Cucumbers put. To be honest, I've only seen Joe talk about it, nothing from Flamingo Land.
Theme park is
That's worrying, really, isn't it?
You also have to realise the whole industry is on pause at the moment.
That's also
true. Other things do take precedence.
There was no marketing for Velocicoaster. They just used the internet to market themselves,
literally,
at the same time.
That's the thing. This current climate, they're not wanting to draw massive crowds in.
Yeah, but what?
And they're not going to want to spend a massive marketing budget on it.
And why would Flamingo Land start marketing a coaster that's going to be, got the close season to go through? Everyone will forget it by the time it opens back up.
They're probably going to push it.
Also, you'll find parks won't tease things during a season, which is difficult when your park is year round, because they don't want you to wait until next year. They want you to go now and then go again next year. So it's always, people were saying, me included, why are Universal building this coaster and not acknowledging it at all? And someone very rightly pointed out to me they want to leave it as late as possible, so you can go, they'd almost want you to go to the park and look at this construction and then go again when they announce it.
Like Kaye when they built a billboard saying that it's now open.
I feel like that's just they had hired an advertising company. They kind of got left off the list of please don't actually put our marketing out yet. And the company just goes mail. But we paid to do it, so
it got people talking about it.
It is true,
Did. That's what this whole podcast is based
on. I've actually written a post about that today and actually included that image in the post. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out.
That's why I mentioned it.
It's quite amusing.
That's it. I was like, that's great. Yeah.
It was like if you to advertise The Room and put underneath it the worst film ever made, people would go and see it through curiosity.
People still go watch it. Yeah.
That's strange, man.
We've got a question here saying, "What is your favourite tune you have ever made?" Or let's just say, what's the proudest moment of your career to date? Really, I'd say.
Well, there's two questions there.
I would go with the latter.
Greedy.
I always say the fireworks because that was just a lovely moment. Toon Blaster comes very high up there. The entrance music for Scarefest in 2015 was great, just to walk down Tower Street and to hear that music.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wow. And it's like random.
What a thing to hear your music at Alton Towers down the Tower Street like that.
Yeah, it was nice. And trying to other thing. I mean, weird, random. Something from Madame Tussauds in Berlin, which was German dance music based on their subway sounds.
Okay.
And wow,
quite unique.
I kind of need to hear
Go
this
on the
now.
subway and recreate that, please. With
I kind of need to hear this now.
Beat behind it.
Yeah. I need to hear this when we finish.
The doors of the subway go, and I just took that and did that to a kind of German dance track. So it's proud moments are. What was the question again, Sean?
The other question I was going to say, my question was, what was your proudest moment?
Yeah.
And then the other question was, what is your favorite tune that you've made?
Okay, well, I'll talk about that last, but proudest moment is every single attraction I've done, because it's great to be able to get to do that. And if it works, you've done what you set out to do. I don't have any emotional connection to any of the stuff I've done because, as we talked about 3 hours ago,
sorry about that.
Sorry. You don't, because you know every iteration of the piece that you've done, and you're not. The joy of music is hearing it for the first time and all that kind of death of the artist stuff. But it's my favorite tune. I don't know, theme park fan. Should we just say that?
That is a tune.
It is a tune. Yes.
I love that.
And stuff I can't talk about yet, which is also quite fun.
Ooh,
there you go.
Like, you make a really good point about not becoming emotionally connected to any of your work. I remember you made a good point on one podcast that I heard you speak on. I can't remember which one it was, but just about like it. There's always the massive possibility that the work you happen to come up with for a specific project might not just not get used, right? Like that. Like it's always, you've got to be ready to kind of just
kill your babies,
drop it, and kill your children. just drop it and move on to the next thing. I feel like,
because
I agree with that entirely.
You're not writing for yourself. You're not writing. If a piece doesn't work, it has nothing to do with I haven't done something wrong. Someone else hasn't done something wrong. It's just not right for that particular moment of the story. It's exactly the same in musicals, in film scoring. You write this thing, you put your heart and soul into it, it gets cut. Fine. You do something better. You learn from, you say, why didn't that work? What do I need to do now to make it work? And yeah, I mean, I forget. I'll go into my archives and think, oh God, I did that. That's crap, isn't it? That didn't work. And that's why it didn't work. And this is quite good. It could have worked if that, that happened and things. But you get over it. I'm sure you do when you kill a child. You get over it. Have another one. It's fine.
I'm sure that's definitely how that goes.
P.S. Don't kill your children.
Has there ever been a time that you sort of been asked to do a project and you've kind of gone back and looked at say failed projects and thought, actually, you know what, that piece that I did right that didn't get used, say for that actually might work really well for this? Has that ever been the case?
Good question.
No, because each piece is unique for a project. So I'll look at some melodies, maybe, and maybe
some ideas from it
out the trunk.
So sort of take elements.
Every. I mean, it might work for other people like Lloyd Webber, but I'm not one who will just take something and I'll use that, because it is, again, it's all about what the client wants. It's about
making it individual and personal to them.
Yeah, that's what I try and do. But I might in the future.
Excellent.
Harry Hazel in the chat had what I think might be a pretty loaded question, to be honest. He said, if you could make a dark ride and put it at any UK park, what would be the theme or story and why? We could be here till tomorrow trying to hash that out.
Oh God!
Tell you what, think about it and put it on Twitter.
In 160 characters or fewer. I don't know. I'm always a stickler for good haunted houses, and I think that's something we are missing. We have good haunted houses, but they're like spooky 3D, but they're quite old. And I love Darren Brown's Ghost Train for what it achieves. I think it misses the mark on some elements. But I wish we had a good retro but new Ghost Train, if that makes sense. So if you take all the new bits in Blackpool's Ghost Train and put that into an entire ride that isn't 3D, that isn't screens, that isn't VR, that isn't a gimmick.
Laser guns.
It's just
blasters.
Sorry, blasters.
It's just a good Ghost Train. But to say Ghost Train is a bit silly. I'd like to see
trackless.
A trackless, but for a reason. The trackless, obviously, Rise of the Resistance is, to use a pun, is on a completely different planet compared to what we have. But
in a galaxy far away.
Yeah,
quite literally.
I like to see something like that, but done in this country. I'd like to. I'm going to go back against what I said about Haunted House. I like to see something that isn't themed to death and doom and gloom and apocalyptic stuff, because there's too much of that in this country and in the parks.
Quite easy as well, isn't it? It's easier to do than doing something that is.
It's almost like a cop out.
Yeah, I mean, if it's done well, it's good, but it is an easier way to do. Like, it's easy to scare someone in a way, or make someone feel.
John Waldie says horror is easy to do because, to scare someone with horror is easy, but to take someone through a Bavarian fizzy drinks factory,
exactly,
using a weird omni-mover boat system, whatever the hell it was, that is difficult to do. So I'd like to see more wacky European style, like Arthur, or whatever the hell Lisa Berger built with rabbits underneath the even I like stuff like Wallace and Gromit, but imagine if they did the original plan and did Postman Pat indoors as a dark ride. That would be the ultimate dream of a 4-year-old to get into that car and do a proper ride through the Greendale, whatever it's called,
something like that.
and just kind of innocent fun to bring us back to our childhood, because that's what parks do.
Maybe that's something that David Walliams' World and Gangster Granny the Rye House, maybe that's something they can achieve, because it does look like, as you said earlier on, it's something that the whole family can ride and enjoy. So be interested to see how that one plays out. Definitely.
Hopefully, I've got high hopes for that ride.
Same. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am as well.
From the start,
massively.
I was like, that's going to be something different, something.
And in a way, the
kind of like vibe.
The Corona situation has made 2021 an amazing year.
It has
for parks, because not only are we getting the 2021 stuff, we're also getting the 2020 stuff shoved over into 2021. So Sean Sandbrook is not going to have any energy left after running around all
night. Dead on his feet.
Right then, good morning. We're here.
So, to be fair, so we for that matter as well, because we'll all be out there experiencing it ourselves.
Loaded year for all content creators, to be honest.
Yeah, massively.
I hope anyway.
Yeah, let's hope so.
So just quickly then, What do we all want to see out of Valhalla in 2022?
No water.
I would like to see I wouldn't like it to be too different. I just want it to be updated.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want the effects to work as they were meant to originally worked, because I remember doing it when it first opened, and that's the way I still remember it in my head. I don't remember it as the half working mess that it has been the last few years. I still think about it in terms of that first time I went on it, and it just opened up a whole different world to me.
Blowing you away. Yeah.
And I just love to see that. Make it feel like you're less in a warehouse and you're in Valhalla. Better music. Well, not. I want the music to be the same, but just better. I don't know what the words. You know what I'm trying to say.
Integrated.
Yeah. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
It doesn't really do much for the story of the actual ride. The ride's got a pretty cool build up to it, and then there's nice elements of it where it just relaxes. There's nothing in the music that does that. It's just blimmin' Tom. It's just big drums all the time, all the way through it, and then it just relaxes the music. Like I think every scene in Valhalla could have its own track. Basically, it'd be really.
It needs something that's going to build up atmosphere and build up suspense and deliver the experience you want from Valhalla, rather than just, as you said, it's rolling real all the way through.
Building up to that.
Massively.
The problem with audio in that building is that there's
just open.
There's no way to block things off, and also there's running water, which is very loud. So it's
getting around that.
Tend to be a bit of a mess, I think, if they were to have different audio tracks playing. I mean, it can't be as embarrassing as Alice in Wonderland at that part, but
could you do it in the boats, though, Nick?
I don't know. Possibly. Does Pirates in Shanghai have onboard audio? Do we know?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I think there could be a way around it if they put it in the boats somehow. I don't know.
But then
they definitely have to have some ridiculous waterproofing.
Waterproofing,
yeah. That's what I was thinking. I'm just saying because they sold most of the boats.
I'm pretty sure if coasters can have onboard audio, then they run in different weather, then I'm sure there'll be the technology.
I'd like to see fewer bin bags.
As a whole at Blackpool.
Fewer people from Blackpool. I'd like to see. I'd like to see the ride have a beginning and a middle and an end.
Yes.
Because for me, there's no I haven't a clue what's going on that ride, mostly because I'm bracing myself to be rained
soaked
on for 3 minutes. And yes, it's very impressive, but there's no emotion in the ride. There's lots of ocean, but there's no emotion.
That's the marketing for next year.
Or the year after. There's no what am I doing here? Why am I on this boat? Where am I going? What am I doing? What am I trying to escape?
Why are these dogs barking at me?
Exactly. There's no explanation as to what Valhalla is. So I think that's what I'd like to see. Of course, all the effects working, some new effects. I like them if they were able to do 2 show versions. So you have the summer show, which can get you drenched, and you have the February to spring show where it's slightly toned down, I think.
That's a good idea.
And I just want things fixed, because I think, like Tomb, there is an amazing dark ride somewhere in that building. It just needs proper focusing on lighting and audio and story. And I think hopefully we'll have a world-class attraction again, because that's what it was originally. I never did it in its best way. I think I went on it for the first time
neither did I.
4 or 5 years ago, and I actually got the Ring of Fire, which apparently is a very rare moment.
That is rare.
That I had my jaw on the floor at that point. And I thought, we are going to put that fire out. That is amazing. And that's what the ride needs. It needs things like that to work every single time, which is difficult and it's expensive. But I think Amanda has heart.
Yeah. I agree with that. It's going to open. It's just going to be VR, isn't it?
Could you imagine?
VR Halla.
Oh no, James, what do you want to see? Apart from not getting as wet when you step in the boat, because I know that's your biggest peeve.
No swamps.
It's just like
they had the vacuums, they didn't use them.
No, they did. That's the problem. They used them,
and it didn't work.
It doesn't work. I let a bit less wetness from it. It is just ridiculous. Like, because you are on the coast as well, so even in the summer, there's quite a bit of a breeze. If you're wet, that's you're freezing anyway.
Also condensation on your glasses.
Yeah, I can't see anything in there.
Also, or just make it bathing suit accessible. And you got your dark ride lazy river done.
Imagine just floating around
you, you know,
on a dinghy.
Oh, that double down drop though. That would be sweet.
Bounce out the boat.
But fixed effects. Maybe a few new ones. Possibly a bit more animatronics to actually give it a bit more of a story, because there were parts that I do admit I was just like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
why is this happening? But
you go into a massive area and there's like ships and really good props, but there's nothing going on.
Yeah,
I think at the time, for what it was meant to be like a spectacle, wasn't it? It was meant to be, you're in Valhalla. Valhalla is Valhalla. But I think where we are now, I think there is room for like more of a storytelling. We are going down that route now, especially, you know, in this country. It's been happening in Disney for years, but I think we are growing attached to that now. So hopefully, they do incorporate some kind of story, even if it's just light story. It doesn't have to be anything. You know,
it doesn't have to be anything complicated, does it?
No, it doesn't. It just has to be like, welcome to Valhalla. Like, this is where you are. This happens. Get out, sort of thing. Something like around the lines of that, but just do
Fight
it well.
this dude and win.
Execute it well, and that's all you need to do, really. I think. But
I'm just really excited for it because it's one of my favorite rides in the country. It's incredible. It's really good.
I say we all meet in 2021 and have a ride on it together. That would be very funny.
2022.
2022
even.
Yeah. We can all meet up in 2021. Hopefully.
We can do 2021 as well.
just bring a change of clothes and an umbrella, because they might just go the opposite way and ramp up the wetness.
Maybe a bit back to keep yourself safe, you know.
I mean, I remember when I went on it, I did it 3 times in a row, and
you might as well. It's like when you do drench at Oakwood, you might as well. Like
and tidal wave.
Yeah, tidal wave.
The first time I did it, I was cowering under my poncho, and I came off incredibly dry, but I hadn't seen anything or heard anything or paid anything. I was just so aware of what's happened. The second time, I was a bit more a bit more brave, and I was kind of having one eye open. Third time I thought, oh fuck it, I'm just going to go on it. Just like, right, give me all you've got. And that's the way to do it, is you just have to embrace the fact that that was in the summer and it was, nice.
9 degrees.
Yeah, tropical for Blackpool. I don't know how people do it in February.
I do remember when we went, Luke, and we had them 2 guys in front of us, and you're like, don't duck. First drop, they both ducked.
Absolutely
so
I was leaving footprints around Blackpool Pleasure Beach after we stopped filming because we were just so wet.
I remember going on it, and the second time my friend said, "Oh, sit in the front, you get a better view of the effects." I was a gullible prat, and by better view of the effects, he meant better view of the water splashing down over the front of the boat onto your shoes.
Yeah. All right then, guys. Well, we've been going for over 2 hours, believe it or not.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you so much for your time, Nick, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
It's all right. Don't worry. Happy to be on.
Yeah.
Joe had a comment earlier on in the chat saying no questions, but to just say hearing about your experiences in the industry has been fascinating. So
thank you. Well, that's very kind.
That's a nice one to end on.
Yeah, everyone's been awesome in the chat tonight. So thank you so much for everybody tuning in. Thank you for listening if you're on Spotify. And Nick, where can people find your Season Pass podcast?
Social... Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. I'm on Twitter, Nick Hutson Music. So Instagram as well. Do say hello. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to talk to you guys.
No worries.
No, likewise.
Yeah.
Been awesome having you on. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Some great insight.
Yeah, massive insight. It's been probably one of my favorite shows. There's no detriment to any of the other guests we've had on, but this has been like massive.
Yeah.
But
huge.
But
very kind.
Coming up on the show next week will be an announcement very soon. All I'm gonna say is just stay tuned to our social media because it's massive, and then the announcement after that is even bigger. So, little tease for you guys there. It's going to be amazing. Well, we hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast. And like I say, if you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do. Link is in the video description and the podcast description as well. But for now, I've been Luke. He's been Mikhile. He's been Joe from Feedback Insanity. He's been Sean from Parkspill. And he's been Nick Hutson. And he's been James. And we've been CoasterGen, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And we will see you next time. See you later, guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys. See you later.